And there's such a long history of oppression and manipulation by concealing relevant information and only dealing out the true knowledge as it suits the controllers financially and in terms of their power to do so.
Definition of a psyop.
It's a psyop. We're at one of those turning points. They have, even without opposition, put themselves in a corner where it has to change now. It will change in some fashion. The only question is, how easily will the change come?
So you're saying that they are willing to concede?
I'm saying that if they don't concede, the whole system will collapse from within.
House of cards.
Under them and over their heads.
Yeah.
The whole thing is going to come down. The transition could be graceful. The means are there. The willingness is there on the part of a lot of people. But it's not decided. There are so many factors that are unknown to anybody, first of all. So many factors that are known only to a few that you and I don't know about as we sit here, but somebody somewhere does. So many variables here that it's impossible to say which way it's going to go. But it's going to transform dramatically in a very short time, beginning this December and into early next year. Crucial times. There are going to be developments that are going to transform life as we know it.
You take a stab at any of those developments you see potentially happening?
I can see that they're staging a major event based on a pandemic that doesn't exist. People are dying, but the question is, what are they dying of? We're asked to believe that they're dying of a thing called an Ebola virus. That doesn't exist. That's a lie, that's a hoax. But they're going to manipulate the people, they hope, into believing that there is a pandemic, and they're going to make their play. And out of that will come the transformation.
So you believe that this will have that impact, a 9/11 type of impact?
I think it's going to be bigger than 9/11.
Okay.
I think their bluff is going to be called. I hope that it's called early enough that they haven't played their trump card. I hope they're not going door to door with SWAT teams trying to enforce vaccinations and hauling people off to internment camps who refuse to submit. I hope it doesn't come to that. If it does come to that, I think that's where the bluff will be called. I think they're going to be met with a lot of fire.
I don't think they're going to have to go door to door. I think people are going to line up. What do you think about that?
I think that that's where everybody everybody on the block is going to see what's going on behind the doors of the house next door. We're going to see who believes what.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not going to take as many people not complying. I mean, look at what 1,000 people did at the Bundy Ranch. I mean, in terms of the 300 plus million that we have in this country, 1,000 people is nothing, but 1,000 people standing together and saying, no farther, we want our cows back.
Right. Yeah, imagine if we actually united together on something really substantial.
Yeah. So if 1,000 people got together and said, we're not taking a vaccination, we're not going to a camp because we said no, we've had enough, 1,000,000 people would look at that and say they would be shocked into reassessing their own beliefs and their own situation.
You see them playing the card, even this morning, that the nurse that was taking care of the man that died now has the virus.
And I don't believe any of it.
No.
You know,
that's a report by the CDC.
Yeah, it's a psyop, start to finish.
Mm-hmm.
So these are desperate measures for desperate times. I don't think that the people producing the psyop themselves really believe that it's going to go, but they don't have an alternative play in their playbook.
It's their only function.
It's their only function, and they're doing the only thing that they know how to do. They have programmed themselves as thoroughly as they have programmed the mass of the people.
What a pickle that is.
I don't know if you caught Joseph Farrell's post just a couple of days ago, where he's making the case that the presidential speeches are at a very dumb level compared to what presidential speeches were 100 years ago. There's two lines of thinking. One line goes, well, they're just trying to posture themselves for a dumber level of people. But the picture, and is Joseph Farrell's belief, the leaders, they're getting dumber too.
Well, I would propose that the leaders
witness their actions.
They don't even write their own speeches.
Well, there you go.
Was it Truman that gave the... No, it was Eisenhower that gave the warning about the military-industrial complex. Right? That was Eisenhower?
Eisenhower, Kennedy did it.
Well, they wrote their own speeches, is what I was trying to say. Yeah.
I haven't done the homework to see where the tradition of speechwriters began.
I'm gonna guess it came about around the Nixon time. That's my guess.
Oh, it's a given that it was in effect by then. Yeah. The tradition of an Abe Lincoln writing the Gettysburg Address on the back of an envelope as he rode on the train.
Oh, how far we've fallen.
Yeah.
So, the Ebola is a pretty obvious one. It's pretty in your face. I have to point out the massive swings in the stock market are pretty crazy as well.
Well, and I would point to weather also. I mean, I'm not diminishing the stock market. That's relevant, but sure. I know that we're short on time, but I want to include what's going on with the weather situation in the fact that the whole house of cards is collapsing. They're still pushing, they being the script writers, the mass media are still pushing global warming in spite of the fact that for the last 18 years, the trend has been colder, not warmer. They're falsifying the data in order to justify still pushing global warming, or as they call it climate change, but to them that means warmer. They're falsifying the data, and the scientific community is rising up in resistance to that. There are over 1,000 accredited scientists now who have signed on saying, we don't buy global warming.
Wow.
And so that's another psyop that is blowing up. The extremes and the manipulation are in your face apparent. And more people are realizing this. You know, they're still trying to discredit the concept of chemtrails and geoengineering and weather manipulation, even as it goes on visibly over our heads. How long can this go on? We're at a tipping point.
Well, and what is the level of consciousness that all these things take place literally in front of your eyes, and yet you refuse to believe or even are unable to see? So I guess this kind of brings us back around to the question that I posed earlier.
So to come back to the astrology, is that where you're going?
Well, I was really going back to knowledge-taking action. What do you see? Sure, and in the astrology, what would need to happen to facilitate that?
I can say that we're at that time. The next 3 years, based the astrology, just the astrological cycles say that between now and 2018, the major events are going to take place that are going to be, in hindsight, understood to be totally out of the blue. It's like, where did that come from? How come we didn't see that coming? Here's the thing, is that we're subject to cycles that can be influenced, but they can't be changed. That was the conclusion of Edward Dewey and his analysis team as a result of the first Great Depression in the 1930s. They undertook a massive study of the cycles of everything that you can name. Man's cycles in the financial market, going back hundreds of years, natural sunspot cycles, natural life cycles of caterpillars, butterflies, lynx, rabbits. They studied everything exhaustively. They concluded that, and that they were looking for evidence that the Great Depression had been instigated by financial manipulators in that time. Their conclusion was no, that the cycle in some fashion was going to take place. Certain people knew how to position themselves to take advantage of it, but they did not cause it.